What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode. Just sitting here thinking, and I came up with an idea and I wanted to share. So, the more I think about it, there's a difference between a nominal raise and an actual raise, okay? And a nominal raise is basically what your job gives you, okay? In our example, let's say we get a 1.3% general wage increase, okay? And we're going to get a couple of them before the end of the contract. But let's just focus on the one that we'll be getting in any specific year, okay? And then with that nominal pay percentage increase, we got to figure out how much is that worth in actual dollars, okay? So, for example, let's say you got a 1.3% raise, but inflation was 3% that year. So, in order to figure out how much your wage is worth, you have to subtract your wage from inflation, and that would give you your actual raise or your actual increase, right? So, in our example, we got a 1.3% general wage increase. And let's just say, for the sakes of easy math, we got a 3% inflation this year. So essentially, that gives us a negative 1.7% raise, okay? So that's basically because our money is worthless, okay? It's worth less than what it was a year ago, a decade ago, or a century ago, right? So that's just keeping up with inflation. So then we have to include the costs of rising healthcare. We have to include the cost of rising car insurance. You know, transportation is the big one. Transportation, food, rent, okay? Transportation, food, and housing. We have to include the increase in all of those things that we're faced with as Americans living in America, or in the world for that. What am I being so naive and saying America? Everyone's facing the same situation. So now let's subtract all of those numbers from our 1.3% raise we get, okay? And now we see where the problem lies. But I don't think this is just a postal problem. This is a problem in the way that our system is. I think a lot of people are going to be waking up real soon and realizing that we can't afford to live in this country anymore, and some things have to change. What are those things that have to change? I don't know, and I don't want to pretend to think that I know, but I do know this. I do know that we live in a capitalist society, and it depends on capital, okay? And it also depends on labor. But I do know that if you're working a job and you get paid a lower wage because the corporations have to make more money to stay profitable, or else they go out of business. But if you don't get paid enough to survive, at what point does this whole thing collapse? I know I'm going real left field with this conversation, but really think about it. Like, really think about it. We're living in a time in the world where things are so expensive that unless you have multiple jobs or you have a dual income household, chances are it's going to be real hard for you to survive. In my personal example, I understand I do live outside of my means a bit. You know, I don't buy groceries because I'm a single man. So I do spend a lot of money eating out. That's a controllable cost. I know I can cut back on that and put some more money back in my pocket, but I'm talking $200-300. That's all I'm talking. But as a single person in the world, you know, my expenses, aside from, you know, I would call those luxury expenses, being able to eat out, they don't equate to what I make. You know, if I'm being real, and I think I'm speaking for a lot of people, without credit, I don't think that a lot of people will be able to make it on a month-to-month basis. But then what happens when you max out credit? What happens when your minimum payments become so grand then now you can't afford your minimum payments and you can't afford your lifestyle, your basic necessities in lifestyle, your rent, your transportation, your food. Um, and then what happens if you have two jobs, but now there's not enough time to sleep? You're working at the postal service and then you're working overnight. What happens then? What happens when you're maxed out, like at your max capacity? What's the next step? I think that a lot of people are at that point where, we're starting to wake up and realize that it's not even about the American dream. I think it has to do with capitalism. I think there's a big shift about to happen. And if we take it even more sideways, what happens when AI comes into the picture of all of this and AI starts to take our jobs? Then what? Then what happens when the computers take all the jobs at McDonald's, all the jobs at Dollar General, all the jobs that basically keep our economy up? What happens when 10 jobs are replaced by one job? Then how does a capitalist society work when there's no need for labor anymore? I get it, the corporations will still be making profits because they won't be paying labor costs. But what happens to all those displaced people that used to put into the system, putting tax dollars into the system? What happens then? And I know I'm probably thinking, probably deep far in the future. But I think it's something that needs to start to be talked about because AI is serious, especially on YouTube. You can see people's making YouTube videos and their scripts and everything they're speaking about is literally coming from ChatGPT. There's like no original ideas anymore. And that's just YouTube. You know what I mean? There's ChatGPT creating scripts and essays in colleges. Think about the future generation that's going to school now that is using AI to, help them score good on those tests. Those are the future doctors and lawyers of our country. I know I took it sideways today, but it's just the thought process I was having right now. And it all stemmed from me thinking about the tentative agreement, honestly. It came about by me thinking about, how much will be a good raise? And quite frankly, I mean, the number has to be in the 20-30% because that's just how much things have gotten up. And is that realistic? Absolutely not. But for us to get 1% each year from now until we retire, that doesn't do it. It does not do it. Even if you gave us 3% a year, that wouldn't do it. I don't think that prices are going down anytime soon. I know they may get on the TV and they may say, oh, well, things went down or CPI went down or whatever. However they measure things may have shown on their paper that it went down. But as a real person living in the world, we know that things have not gone down. They only go up. And once they hit a new baseline, that's it. That's the new baseline. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. I know I went left field, I went right field, I went outfield. But I'm a regular person and I think about stuff because, I think we'll be foolish not to think about what the future holds in store. Anyway, guys, until next time, I'll be here. You'll be there. Peace.